Hi St. Peters, I'd like to talk to you today about a book I've been reading, but before I tell you about the book itself, it would be good to talk about what kind of book it is. So this book is a philosophy book and it belongs to the ancient Greeks, so it's a bit of ancient Greek philosophy. So before we talk about the book itself, what does that word philosophy mean? Well, the root of the word comes from this bit first, philo, which means a love of. And the second part of the word, philosophy, the Sophy comes from Sophia. And Sophia is the Greek word for knowledge. So together, philosophia, a love of knowledge. And we shorten philosophia to philosophy. And that's it. People who studied philosophy were called philosophers, and they would teach the people of Greece all about maths and science and what it means to live a good and happy life. One such philosopher was called Plato, and he's the very first person to set up something called a school, which we are at St. Peter's. But today we're going to be looking at a particular philosopher who's not particularly well known but has some important things to say, and his name is Epicurus. The book we're going to be looking at today is called The Art of Happiness by Epicurus. It's quite a dull book. Philosophers didn't particularly write in exciting ways, but some of the quotes from it are still really interesting. And philosophers didn't write books like we'd have today. They wrote on something called scrolls, which were made of a plant called papyrus. This is what a scroll used to look like. Throughout this video, I'm going to be asking you some questions, so do have your pen and paper ready, and be sure to write your answers in full sentences as well. So here are your first two questions. Question 1. What does philosophy mean? And question 2. Name 2 ancient Greek philosophers. Remember, you can pause and rewind if you need to. So let's read this together. I've picked out a good quote, which I'll put on the screen in a bit. I'll also put some questions at the end of this video, so do make sure you're reading and listening carefully to see if you can answer all the questions at the end. Remember to write your questions in full sentences as well. Okay, let's have a look. And here it is. Plain foods afford pleasure equivalent to that of a sumptuous diet. Now you may look at that sentence and think this is a complicated sentence, and you are correct. There's a difficult word in there, sumptuous, and plain foods afford. What does that mean? So let's rewrite this sentence to make it easier to read. Simple foods can give you as much pleasure as really fancy foods. I'd like you to pause the video in a second and have a go at question 3. Question 3 is, do you agree with this statement? Do you agree that simple foods can give you as much pleasure as really fancy foods? If you'd like to pause the video and have a go at that question now. So it seems pretty simple. I'm sure we'd all choose a plain food over a more rich, luxurious food. We'd rather have just a plain old bowl of rice any day over a pizza. I'm sure every one of you at home would rather choose the rice if given the choice. You wouldn't? You'd go for the pizza? Oh good, so would I. But there's nothing wrong with that, and Epicurus isn't saying that you're wrong to pick the pizza, but he's saying that the pleasure that you get from the rice and the pizza would be the same. Now what does he mean by that? Let's have a look at a video to see if it can help us out. So in this video there are going to be 2 monkeys. The monkeys need to give a rock to the experimenter, and as a reward they then get a piece of food. So the first monkey is going to give the rock to the experimenter and gets a piece of cucumber. Monkeys like cucumber, and that's okay, that monkey's okay with it, not bad. The second monkey gives the rock, there he goes, and he gets a grape. Now monkeys love grapes, so this first monkey is now excited, thinking, I'm going to get a grape as well. And he gets cucumber again. Watch his reaction. He does not like that anymore. That cucumber that he was happy with first of all is now throwing away, doesn't like it at all. The second monkey gets a grape again. Now the monkey is going to test that rock to see if it's okay, and then finally gives it over and gets cucumber again. Let's see if he acts any different. Nope, he is not a fan of that cucumber. Monkeys? What's that got to do with anything? How is that related to our quote? Well, let's think for a second. What do you think would have happened had that second monkey not got the grape, or had grape not been an option? That first monkey would have continued eating cucumber happily. We already saw that the monkey ate the cucumber the first time. It's only when he saw that a grape was another option that now the plain food of cucumber was no longer good enough for the monkey. But had the monkey just had the plain food all along, he'd have been happy, he'd have been fine. And this shows us what Epicurus means here. He says that if we have plain foods, we'll be happy. But if we seek the more complicated, luxurious foods all the time, they're going to be harder to get, and we won't be as happy with the plainer foods when we go back to them. And this brings us to our final two questions. Question 4. What does Epicurus say about simple pleasures? Remember to write your answer in a full sentence and explain it in your own words. And finally, question 5. Can you think of 5 simple pleasures that you've enjoyed this week? So it could be anything from the sun coming in through the window, playing a game, or reading a book. Well, St. Peters, that brings us to the end of our video. Hope you've enjoyed this and I hope you've learnt something from it as well. Have a lovely week and see you again soon. Bye bye!